Shut up and sit down.
Howdy guys, it's Andy from Big Meg's Workshop Painting Studio, and today it's another Warcry figure. This is the Raptoryx, which is kind of a weird lizard-bird hybrid, so very chaosy. Painting it in a kind of I can't really explain with the colour scheme, I just sort of went with it, and it came out looking really weird. So we start off with deep blue over a black primer. As you can always see, we use black primer quite a lot. And deep blue is a scale 75 paint, which goes over it really nicely. Once we've got the deep blue down, from the top it is scale 75 Mern Green, which is going to complete the sort of lizardy look. What you're going to get from this thing. Really unusual, lots of unusual textures about this. So I've also taken a little bit of inspiration from the Dilophosaurus from Jurassic Park, so I've given it a red frill, which sets off nicely against the blues and the greens. So now I'm starting to mix up the colours now. I'm doing a similar sort of blending techniques of what I painted on the Goblin Bomber from Blood Bowl. So now I've added some camo green, which is a Vallejo model paint. This is lightening it up, really brightening it up. I'm going for quite a patchy mottled colour. Now I'm going to apologise in advance for some of the iffy camera work here. It's a weird shape and it did fall off camera a few times, so I do apologise in advance for that. I'm trying to get a mottled upper skin tone to it, so it's going to look a little bit patchy initially. This is totally deliberate because I'm going for sort of natural world sort of camouflage colours on the upper body. The stomach region is going to be a little bit different. So I've added some more of a camouflage green in now, and as you can see it's quite yellowy now, just brightening up those colours, making it a bit more interesting and looking a little bit more flamboyant. As you can see, I'm just dabbing the paint on gently, trying to keep some of the darker colour showing through, and just making it look a little bit more patchy than I would normally go for. After a layer of a Paintng camo shade, I'm just going back with the camo green, just to tidy everything up a little bit and bring the highlights out. As you can see, the Paintng camo shade really added some depth to it, but it's also made it a little bit shiny, so just be aware when you do add washes, it does sometimes shine up, so you will need to put a varnish on just to get all the colour of the same sheen. So I've added some Undead Flesh by Scale 75 into the mixture now. So this is camouflage green and Undead Flesh, and just starting to bring out those highlights, certain areas, not going all the way across the model. I'm trying to leave some of the dark colours in as well, but I'm brightening up, especially around that face area, around its beak, and areas around about the back of its tail, and so it's just the areas that are really going to catch the light. So onto the blues. I've got some navy blue now from Scale 75, really nice dark blue, and as you can see it's really thin, and I'm stretching that into the green. Added a bit of depth. It adds a bit of depth to the green. It also allows you to translate from the blue to the green really nicely. So once you've got the deep colours in there, you can really start to add the lighter colours in. So after that it is Cantabric blue, another Scale 75. It's straight out of the pot, obviously thinned down, but I've not added any lighter colours in there, and I'm just adding this into the onto the skin, and really starting to bring out that colour tone now. So the sky blue next is added into the Cantabric, and as you can see, I'm just starting to focus on the underside. I'm really wanting to make that stomach area really interesting, so I'm really focusing on getting that stomach very vibrant and colourful. So now it's a bit of wolf grey on top there, really thin down again. I'm starting to experiment with the colour a little bit, and I'm really starting to try and get almost a flesh blue on this area. So I'm trying to get something a little bit different. So after the wolf grey, I go back to the Cantabric blue again, and just tone it down a little bit, just to make it a little bit more, little bit more muted. And I'm taking it up and down again just to make sure that those glazes are nice and smooth, using the same two colours just to go up and down between each other. So now I've added some Harvester flesh in now into the blue mixture, and this is where I was referencing the Goblin Bomber. What I'm doing is I'm making that them highlights on the tummy a little bit more interesting by using flesh colours rather than just creams. So onto the feet, and this is Orange Leather by Scale 75. It came out kind of chicken-like at the end, which is sort of where I was going with that. So we've got a very weird mixture of reds and greens and the blues as well. Onto the, it's got some kind of bandages around its ankles. This is done in Rhinox hide, which, as you know, it's a really good colour, really strong tone, and it goes really nicely against the orange and the blue. So it's also got what I've noticed. It's also got a lot of spikes and spines. So we're going with the heavy brown by Vallejo for this, just as a base coat. And it's going to give us something to work with when we get around to starting to really work on those nails. So over with the red again. So we based it in deep red. Now we're using Scale 75's blood red. Now you could have used a Mephiston red over a corn red. This is just what I had to hand at the time. So as you can see, really thin paint. I'm just blending those colours together nicely. We're also trying to make it not so it stands out too greatly against the green skin. So it's added some birch into the heavy brown, and we're just starting to highlight up the claws and the talons, and sort of weird blade things it's got on his wings. Making it look a bit more interesting. As you can see, it's got a lot of detail all over the model, so you've really got a lot of opportunity because it's got no real reference in life, so you can really play with this and make it look interesting. So I've added some more birch now. Birch is a very nice highlight colour for any kind of light brown. It really works well in them, although you could use Screaming Skull if that's more your sort of thing. So pretty much pure birch at this stage, and just finishing off those highlights, really making those bone protrusions really pop and look really vibrant from a distance. So as you can see, we're just starting to be a little bit more white. I've added a little bit of off-white in there now, just to finalise the highlights, just really focusing on the upper sections on the final points as well. So a little bit more off-white, just to edge the most extreme points on the nails. And what you're getting is a nice striking creamy white. Not too pure, but it does look really interesting. So back onto the feet again. This is Chink Orange, another Scale 75 paint. Goes over the orange leather beautifully. Same sort of hue of the orange leather, but it's a little bit brighter. So what you're getting is a nice natural highlight between the more subdued colour and the brighter colour, allowing that colour transition to really work. Over the Chink Orange, it's a highlight of Mars Orange, another bright colour by Scale 75. Could be replicated with Fire Dragon Bright, something along them sort of lines. Just take your time with it, you don't need a lot. It's just to really make those highlights just pop out a little bit more than they initially do. Really adds a little bit to the model. And then it is Peanut Butter, which is a new colour we've got recently. That's just doing exactly the same thing as the Mars Orange, but I'm just bringing it up a little bit more. This is going to really make those final highlights look like chicken feet. So over the top of that, it is Red Tone by Army Painter. Just to add a little bit of depth to the model, because the feet were looking a little bit vibrant no depth to them though, so I don't know, nice thin wash of red just to bring them all together, just really helps. Back onto the red again, it is Antares Red, scale 75. This is probably something along the lines of Eagleson Scarlet, that sort of realm of things, and I'm using this just to bring out those red areas, make them look a bit more threatening, like it's sort of angry, just like the dinosaur did in Jurassic Park, really making it look a bit more fierce and colourful. Aldebaran red on the for the next highlight towards the outer edges of the crest. So it's really starting to be a bit more striking now. It's quite clearly looking like it's trying to intimidate something around it. And then I've added some Mars Orange into the Aldebaran Red just for the top highlights on there, and it's just really setting it off against the nice dark inner tone. So I've added some walnut now onto the Rhinox hide. This is just going to be a nice easy highlight on the bandages. You're not going over the top on that because you can't really see them very well, especially when it's on a base. You don't need to do too much just to keep them to a nice tabletop standard. You can, just the one highlight is totally adequate. So I've added a little bit of peanut butter again onto the feet, just to tone through that red tone, just to bring back the more orangey colour. And a little bit of off-white into the peanut butter, just to add a few little spot highlights here and there. It makes the claws look a little bit more uneven as well. It really helps just to add a little bit more texture to the model. So onto the wings, and we've got Tindalos Red, scale 75. It's about the same sort of colour as Corn Red. It's a real deep colour. I wasn't sure where I was going at this stage. I just felt that red would stand out nicely against the rest of the colours, even so long as I kept it suitably different to the bright crest what is in the centre and the face. I've also gone for the same with sort of weird fur across its head and across the centre of its belly. After the Tindalos Red, it is Bloodfest Crimson. Now this is again very, very deep. Now I've highlighted all the feathers at this stage because I hadn't thought about making a bit of a patterned feather. So just adding the Bloodfest Crimson all across every single feather, and now I'm starting to work on with deep red, starting to highlight up those individual wings. I'm also trying to highlight along the lines what have been engraved into the wings as well. Don't want to absorb too much of the depth of the detail. So I've started to add some colour to it. Huldra Blue. This is a very greeny blue. You could go with Incubi Darkness would work quite well instead of this. It's kind of a greeny blue, so it sort of brings it together from the skin texture underneath and also the skin texture on top. So you've got a sort of hidden link between the two colours. And I've just done an alternating pattern between the feathers just to make it look a bit more interesting. So it's now blood red for a top highlight onto the feathers. Now I'm trying to keep this a little bit scruffy. Don't want the feathers to look too neat because that could potentially look a little bit weird. So I'm just I'm sort of dabbing the painting into the areas just to bring it up together. So Ryla Green is the next highlight onto the wings. Incubi Darkness would usually be highlighted up with Dark Reaper, so you could use that equally well. You get a nice effect with that. anything along the blue-green colour system would work really nicely though. And finally, Innsmouth blue for the last one on the feathers, and I'm just again doing the same sort of thing, keeping the texture of the feathers as much as possible. I'm trying to bring that highlight into the end of the wings, make it look a bit more interesting, just so the colours are really set off against each other. So now I've added a little bit of off-white into the Innsmouth blue, and I'm just making the extreme ends of the feathers a little bit more brighter, a little bit more colourful, just to make them stand out a little bit more than they already were. And what you're going to get is a very interesting, very bright colour on the end of the model. So there you go, that's it from another Warcry model. So obviously we've got some thank yous to make, but just bear with me a second. This was a weird one, I didn't know really where I was going with it, but it was a lot of fun to paint. I could really just play around with different colours, because I've got those weird combinations of lizard and bird as well. But anyway, thank you to you guys for watching me and listening to me waffle on for the last 20 minutes or so. Without you guys watching, there'd be no point in doing that. If you want to, if you're interested in watching more of our videos, check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We've also got Instagram now, so please look us up on Instagram. The links will be all in the description. The best thing you can do for us is like and subscribe. If you really want to get involved though, check out on Patreon, where you get early access to all our videos and some other bits and pieces what we offer as well. And speaking of our Patreons, massive thank yous to the Up Boys, Matt, Ludwig Hofbauer, Warren, D-Wack, Kit Lindquist, Agnes of Dawn, Mark and Dave. You're our top paying patrons, so huge thank yous to you guys. Also check out our affiliate link, which is Outpost. Reduced price models, anything you could want, you can generally get from them, just like any other third party store. If you use our affiliate link in the description, when you do purchase from them, we also get 5% store credit at no cost to you, so that also helps us out. And we thank you for watching this, and catch you in the next one. Okay guys, ta-ra!